angels likewise are not, they don't have egos. You cannot upset them. They're not going to go away. It isn't their job to go away. They're unconditional love. They are omnipresent. You can ask the angels to help you find your car keys at the same time that somebody else is getting Timmy out of the well.
Hello, star children, sex symbols, and most importantly, let's say it right now, angels. I am joined by a Hay House best-selling superstar supernova, tarot master, author, speaker, educator, and once again, an angel, Radleigh Valentine. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Happy to do it. I'm glad to be here, David.
I am really, I gotta say, when you're prepping to interview someone, it's a delight when that person is wanting to, imbue life with positivity and optimism. So I had a lot of fun getting to dive deep. And I have so many questions for you because I am an angel practitioner as well in my daily life. And I give tarot and astrology readings. And, often I am in the lucky position of breaking it to a client that, listen, you're not alone. You've got a whole team kind of watching out for you. And I wanted to kind of start there, which is, I know you've worked with a lot of people and you've spoken to people in all sorts of walks of life. What is that moment, or why is that moment kind of locked away and has to be unveiled that, listen, you have angels watching out for you. You have a team watching out for you. Why is that? Why don't we know that? Or why is that something that requires a kind of revelation for a lot of people?
Grief, David. I mean, it's like, why does everything require revelation? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we signed up for this goofball video game called Human Incarnation, and part of it is, oh, and by the way, send me in blindfolded, deaf and dumb, and unable to understand the most important elements of my incarnation, just so I can struggle my way through it, and because that sounds like fun. And so it's like, it's just another part of the element, I think, of the veil.
Yeah.
And I think that some people come to angels. Well, let me back up and just say, there are angels, there's astrology, there's numerology, there's tarot. There's an infinite number of ways that which people connect with the divine. And some people, just angels aren't their gig. It's like, I have a really close friend who's a very famous Hay House author who is like, angels are too fluffy for me. I am not interested.
Mm,
And it's like, I think it's because vibrationally it's not matching up with their life purpose. It's not matching up with what they are trying to accomplish. They're probably
mm,
trying to accomplish something that's at a denser level, or they're having a certain amount of need for trying to prove to their soul, I can do this myself. I don't need assistance.
mm.
But angels just don't resonate with everybody. For me, they do, but then I was talking to angels when I was 5, so I just sort of grew up with this and was lucky enough to be in a household where that was okay and not a problem.
It's a big discovery that I had when I started studying angels is that they are not, I don't think of them as fluffy because once you get into the full cast of characters, of which there are many, it's quite a packed
Yeah.
orchestra. There are warrior angels, there are elemental angels, there are messenger angels, there's really all sorts of incarnations and archetypes. So I think, yeah, I was curious about that part of the discovery process, or that part of the fun that you get to have in doing this work, which is, I think a lot of people have this image in their heads of kind of fluffy winged cherubic angels, when in reality, there's a whole variety. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, I do think there's a whole variety, but there's a whole variety because the the diversity of the human race is infinitesimal and it's
Yes.
infinite. And angels show up in the way in which we need them. So a person that's in an abusive relationship or has been in a situation where they are in physical danger is going to be drawn to Michael,
Mm.
because
Mhm.
Michael has this energy of safety, protection, life purpose, understanding, and making us feel like we're okay.
Yes.
And is shown to carry a sword and is sticking the sword in a dragon. Well, it's not a real dragon. The dragon is the ego. So it's depends on the energy that the person needs. If the person is very delicate, very sensitive, then maybe they need Michael. But if they're delicate and sensitive, maybe they need a fluffy angel.
Right.
So angels are, I don't, I don't know that I think that the angels, I don't know that I think that the archangels have a specific personality as much as they have the personality that we need them to show up
Mm.
as. Because Michael showing up as warrior, blah, 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 this, all of that stuff is what some people need. Michael to me is more like just, Michael to me is more Clark Kent than Superman.
Mm.
And
Wow.
and that's just what I need. Do I still feel safe and protected with Michael? 100%. I just moved into a new house. Did is Michael protecting my house? Of course he is. But
Yes.
it's
Sword
not
is in the
he's not
ground.
out there necessarily in armor with his sword ablazing.
Mm.
So it's I think it's what you need the angels to show up as.
Which is really liberating because I think many people struggle, I think, with spirituality because they have bad experiences with things being dogmatized. And I think you're
Mhm.
really opening this up as an invitation for there's a big variety and they should have a personal application.
Right. I totally agree with that.
I had an experience when so let me just preface this by saying for people who are listening, there are different angels who you call for different things, but there are kind of a core cast of archangels who
Mhm.
govern the north, south, east, and west. One of them is Uriel, and in the way I learned about him is that he deals a lot with money and governance and kind of that form of security.
Mhm.
And when I had started exploring the angels, I had a lot of trouble connecting with him. And they told me specifically, right, you have issues with money, and it's not just he's going to solve them, it's you have to work out your relationship with him so that you can open up this gate. Which I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, I know this is a podcast, but what's interesting to me is that we've brought up two angels so far, and they're the two angels that are specifically right behind me right now.
Mm.
So we've got Michael to my left and Uriel to my right,
And they're
if they can
gorgeous.
see. Thanks. But the thing about it with Uriel is that Uriel, when I think about Uriel, I think about him as being epiphany, healing, and transformation
Mm.
for all kinds of things, not just our financial
Amazing.
situation. And so that fits with what you're saying, just from the standpoint of it's not Uriel's job to rain down abundance and prosperity on us. It's Uriel's job to help us to transform into a place where we bring in abundance and prosperity. We bring in those kinds of energies. You mentioned that the archangels have specialities, and that's true. And the way I think about it is I think about the divine as being this bright white light that comes down from above. And if you
Mm.
think about a prism hanging below that white light from the heavens, what does a prism do? A prism dissects color and sends it out in multiple rays of light.
Mm.
And so it will turn into red and blue and gold and green and all the different colors of the spectrum. And so, from the standpoint that each archangel has a color that they resonate to, so that's more the surface level of that. But if we think about that from the standpoint that the white light hits the prism and sapphire blue light comes flying out, and that is the light of Archangel Michael. And so are the archangels divine? No. Are they of the divine? Yes. right? They're of the divine. And so here we have Michael, in essence, personifying the element of the divine that is the
Mm.
part that is safety, protection, life purpose, and the things that Archangel Michael governs. He's not all of the divine, but he is reflecting that element of the divine. And so that's the way I sort of look at the archangels and their specialties and their various colors, as being this. They are acting out an element of the divine because they are of the divine, but the divine is all of it.
So let me ask your advice. I am of the sort who struggles with my spiritual practice with issues of either control or spiritual bypassing, which is to say, I will either try to play God and I want total control of everything, or when things aren't going my way, I take on this very, like I will absolutely step onto the cross, nail myself in and say, it's whatever they want. Like I'll just suffer here. Don't mind me. I'll sit in the dark. So I, I'm really curious about what your advice is, because I think the conversation and the ritual and the practice of working with the angels, there's an active aspect to that, which is really liberating. But I'm wondering about it, how do we keep track of ourselves when we're doing this dance so that we're not, for people like me who either swing to, well, the angels aren't doing exactly what I wanted, I guess there's no point in doing this, or I'll just let them have it their way, I shouldn't have a say. How do you do that dance of maybe the magic or the manifesting and kind of staying between these two ends of the spectrum?
It is tough and human. And what's funny is that it's like, if you think about it, it's like nailing yourself to the cross and saying, fine, I just do whatever you want, is actually also a form of control.
Oh yeah,
Right? I mean, it
definitely.
kind of is, because it's like, if I can't control what you're doing, then I'll control my martyrdom in it, you know. And but the thing that I think that is interesting is that I recently went through a really intense experience.
Mm.
And in that experience, I was really frustrated with the angels. I was
Mm.
really, really frustrated. I was like, I don't understand. It's like it's like I made the hard decisions. I did the hard stuff. I feel like I've done everything. Why am I not being rewarded? Why am I
Mhm.
still struggling? And the word that kept coming up when I would talk about this, either through in audiences or I would talk about it in mastermind events and stuff like that, is the word that kept coming up was surrender. Well, I don't like surrender.
Yeah, it's a pain
Surrender.
in the ass.
Well, but it's like it in some ways it's semantics, because
Yeah.
it's like, for me, surrender sounded like giving up, and I didn't want to give up, but I had to sort of like find a different word for it. For it was surrender, but it was like I needed to basically call it letting go or
Mm.
releasing or allowing for things to happen. It's like, I have a close friend who's always saying, Radley, can't you just let life unfold? And it's like, I am the poster child for Sagittarius. Okay.
Happy
It's
birthday.
like, yeah, I am Sag with Sag rising, Sag Mercury, Sag Venus, Sag Mars. You go into Sagittarius headquarters. My picture's on the wall behind the host.
It's
That
you, Tina Turner, and Britney Spears. Yeah.
absolutely, it's all of us. And so it's like, I don't want to surrender. I want to move forward. I want to accomplish. I want to create.
Yes.
And for but it was when I did finally surrender, when I finally did, you know what, it's just fine, whatever, it'll be what it is. Suddenly everything started to happen. And in that time, I felt like, it's like, okay, I've grown.
Mm.
Surely this is enough. I don't want to grow anymore. I'm done. Can we just stop now? And the answer to that question is not no by the angels, but no by the higher self. The angels are
Mm.
going, well, we don't care if you stop, but your higher self says next level. And And once you get to that next level, then suddenly all the pain, all the challenge, all the difficulty, you think about it and you go, oh my God, that was so worth it. I'm so glad we did this.
Mm,
But until you get there, it's really, really difficult. It's really challenging. And there's an archangel named, I pronounce it Shamuel. Some say Shamuel. But Shamuel is the archangel of personal and global peace. He's the archangel of other things too. But but Shamuel as the person that brings the heart down to a place of peace, brings the heart down to a place of like, okay, I'm going to rest in this and allow it to be. Shamuel became very important to me during that time.
mm. Yeah, you're bringing up so many, so many, so many things that I've also really felt personally over the last few years. I think when I've had my daily practice of connecting with the angels, I have tried to also send them towards people that I know and love and am thinking about, but also towards people I don't know. And I know that maybe that might sound a little bit like a bypass or like, how is that really helping the world? But I do think it's a really big place it's a good place to start because I think there's so many things happening in the world that make me feel so helpless and just so
Mhm,
like, what's the point? I can't do anything to change this. I can't change
mhm,
microplastics. You know what I mean? But I
mhm.
think there's something about even the lowest or the most impossible situation. And when you brought up how would you pronounce it?
Shamuel.
Shamuel, like there is something to be said about, okay, if we want to think about a unifying solution for the world, like a real peace for the world, at least starting to connect with that entity or that idea or that presence or that archetype, that has to be something, right?
You know what? I'm for world peace as much as anybody. But I think the peace that you can control is the peace within yourself.
Yes.
That's and if everybody did that, we'd have world peace. And so it's like I think it is admirable to want to fix microplastics or to want to fix anything that's wrong in the world. But I don't I don't think we're here to fix the world. I think we're here to fix ourselves and to do it in a way that is full of integrity and compassion and understanding and lovingness. And if everybody did that, the other issues would work themselves out. And do I think that it's great for David to go, you know what? This is what I do for a living, but microplastics is my topic that
Mm,
I am going to try to do something about. I think that's great. And we need people who are interested in any given topic, but nobody can do all the topics.
right.
You can't do everything. You can't solve microplastics and fossil fuels and global warming, and you can't fix everything. You just have to pick your piece.
Mm,
And so for me, it's like I'm friends with a Hales author named Anita, and it's like one time I was with her, and she just turned to me and she said, "You really need to stop watching the news."
mm,
and and I was like, well, she's like, you really need to stop. And I think she was really right because there is only so much we can do about the whacked outness of the world. And is the whacked outness of the world really alarming right now? Absolutely, very alarming. But as you say, we can only do so much, and we need to do those things we can do, like vote or whatever. But after that, we have to go, I need to bring the light to the world I was brought to bring.
mm,
And if I'm concerned about dogs, which I am, then it's like I can volunteer for Red Rover and charities that I think are great that take care of animals and animal care, and I can do those things. And the rest of it, it's got to be there's 8 billion people on the planet. it's other people's jobs to do that thing or that thing or that thing.
Well, I think what I love when I've had really effective moments of connection with angels, I think there's something about, you know, we're calling on Kate Bush here, but when you're invoking the northeast, south, and west, there's something about going big picture and really seeing the whole interconnected soup, interconnected mess, interconnected harmony, all of those things I think are kind of happening at once. And I think that ability really allows you to see kind of your place in the big picture and all the people who you affect and who if you can be sending these angels to all these people, it kind of reminds you, oh my God, think of all the people I know and think about how we're all connected. And I think that does, it's almost paradoxical, but it's really harmonious, which is it kind of shows you how small you are in the big picture and allows you to say, wait a minute, I'm actually I have a part to play here.
Yeah.
And that perspective can help me lock in, right?
Right. I agree on both things you said. It's like to a certain extent we are a small part of a really big picture, but any puzzle that you put together, if it's missing a piece, your eye is going to be drawn immediately to the hole in the picture. And so the puzzle needs every single piece.
Yes.
And so, including in our daily prayers or our daily meditations, that we want to be a part of the giant energy that is going out towards loving the planet and wanting it to heal and wanting mankind to just not completely lose their minds,
Yes.
then it's like, I think that's great. But where we have an effect is where our feet are on the ground and where we are reaching out to other people and have an immediate connection with those people. That's where we can do that. And the angels are a part of that.
Something I really have been grateful for in a lot of you've spoken out about this and I really connected with this is you've spoken out about having a history of codependency and about how, doing this and this kind of spiritual healing saga has really helped you find your way. And I really relate. And a question I have, when I'm connecting to the angels, who are the emissaries of unconditional pure love,
I like that word.
even in that relationship with the angels,
Uh-huh.
I have some of my own codependent shit coming up, which is, well, I don't want to ask for too much because then they might want something in return. Or what if did I just go too far? Or maybe they don't love me. Maybe I did something wrong. And all of that stuff plays out. And I'm curious if you've had that experience and how they've maybe helped you heal your codependency.
So, have I had that experience with angels? No.
Good.
I haven't, because I think that one of the things that we do wrong in spirituality or religion is that we humanize the divine.
Definitely.
And it's like, so we invent angry, wrathful,
Daddy.
egotistical gods
Yeah.
who must be appeased and must be bowed down to. And my response to that is always like, no, that's a human thing. That is not a God thing. That is not a divine thing. That's not a universal thing. Angels, on the other hand, or angels likewise, are not. They don't have egos. They're not. You cannot upset them. They're not going to go away. It isn't their job to go away. They're unconditional love. They are omnipresent. You can ask the angels to help you find your car keys at the same time that somebody else is getting Timmy out of the well. I mean, it's this angel can be everywhere it needs to be at once. So there is no asking too much. There is no concern that the angels will want something in return. That's human. That is not angelic. Codependence was, it's like I'm still super aware. I'm still very, very aware of that element in myself. And I think any part of ourselves that is something that we need to be paying attention to is is the way we allow it to be our superpower and not our kryptonite
Mm.
is by being aware of when it is presenting itself, being aware when we are starting to act out on it. And we as human beings love to go to sleep. And so we will just sleep, we will be completely asleep to our behavior. And so for me, my guardian angels are a big part of snapping me out of it. But also, Uriel, for me, is great for that, for keep the epiphanies coming, keep the enlightenment coming, help me to stay awake. Raguel is an archangel that handles relationships between people. And
Mm.
it's like, help me to stay in a place of balance because I will go full on unbalanced in 5 seconds flat. And so having the angels help you to stay aware, but it's also about the insight that you have garnered. Working on yourself all the time is a gift that never stops rewarding you. It's the more you understand yourself, the more insight that you have about your motives, your actions, the way you behave, the better off you will be to having the kind of life you want.
Nailed it. Thank you for saying that. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm I a part of this that I've also struggled with, which I
Uh-huh.
think comes from my own codependency, is I once had the angels say to me straight out, and they just said to me, if you would just tell us what you wanted, we would help you. But I think I have this fear of asking or of being a burden. And I was curious about your wisdom or your advice or your perspective on when you are reaching out to a higher power and wanting to set an intention or even make a request or pray for something, how that specificity works, or what those, if you have any advice or tips about how to kind of like formulate in that
Mm.
regard.
Yeah. So, first of all, it's like you can't. I just want to say, it's like you cannot ask too much. You can't ask too much. But with working with the angels and the divine, as far as I'm concerned, we ask for what we perceive would bring us joy and happiness. It doesn't mean we have it right. And so there is I use the metaphor of if you squeeze the soap is going to fly out of your hands. It's the soap has to rest in the palm of your hand, and so does your requests to the angels. It's like you ask for what you want, but you have to stand back and allow for maybe I have this wrong, or maybe there's something better. Maybe there is, and the thing about it is we are we are divine children. We are. And from the divine's point perspective, in my opinion, we are adorable, we're darling, we're a joy, we're a delight, we're the sweetest things in the entire universe, no matter how horrendously we are behaving in the playpen of life. And we're still magic. And so when we ask for something and we ask for it from that childlike part, that divinity childlike part, and that it's like, but this is what I have to be happy. And the
Mm.
angels are like, no, it really isn't. And it doesn't match why you're here. It's like I feel like the angels are governors from the standpoint of they know why we're here. They know what we're trying to accomplish this particular incarnation. And they don't want us to get to the other side and go, oh, I got it all wrong. Why did you let me do that?
It's
So they want to be they're partners, but they're not genie bottles. They're partners. in the grand goal. And if we can ask and then stand back and allow for things to be different than what we thought they would be, and open our hearts and our minds to why that might be better,
This
then
is to me the I think a lot of people assume that those of us who are into this sort of thing are looking for an easy way out. And what you are speaking to, I think, is the real deep challenge that this requires, which is it's not just um, okay, I have faith, everything's gonna, it is, I have faith, everything's gonna work out, but it's more than that. It's, it's the Course in Miracles says, I do not have my best interests at heart. It's saying, I have to put my trust in something beside myself. And I mean, I think anyone who looks at their prior relationship history where you think, oh God, when I was 18, I really thought that person, was the
uh-huh.
most spectacular thing I'd ever seen. And then you look back and think, hey, okay, girl, you were really going through, you had a crush, you didn't understand the context or how long
Right.
or how big your life would be or what else was out there for you. And I think you're really speaking to a huge, it takes a lot to do that. I think that's the big, and that's not on the angels, that's on us. That's our personal work to say, okay, I have to step back now. Like I've written the list, they have it, they got the facts. It's time for me to kind of walk back just a little bit. I think that's a big that's to me the big assignment.
I think that the success comes when we can find ways to be awake to the big picture at the same time that we are awake to the details of the moment. And that's the tricky part. If you can and honest to God, David, it's like part of the tricky part is faith. I mean, it's like I count my lucky stars all the time that I am so Sagittarian, but and that I was raised by the woman I was raised by, because faith, I feel like faith is an attribute of Sagittarius, and or at least in the way it plays out for me. And if you can create for yourself an unshakable faith, an unshakable belief system that no matter what happens, that you have this bar that you don't go below, and that bar is that I am loved, I am adored, the divine adores me, I have angels. No matter how bad this feels, it will in the end enrich my life, enrich my purpose in ways in which I can understand in this lifetime, or will understand when this lifetime is over and be grateful
Mm,
for. If you can set a bar, and I think actually it sounds like a lot, but if we could think about that as maybe that's the low bar, you know, that the universe loves us. The universe is built of love. The divine adores us. And I'm in that club.
mm,
And I'm not going to get kicked out. No one gets kicked out. And if we can set that bar, then we can start to go, then we can start to question our experiences. We can start to say, wait a minute, maybe this is a part of something greater that I don't understand. Maybe this is a part of, you know, if I really had a time machine and could go back in time, would I really change something? Not knowing if I would wind up being the same person I am. If the answer is I don't like the person I am, then you need therapy, and you need to like do something about that. You need to find a way to solve that thing. But if you can look at yourself and go, but I do like myself, I do care about myself, I like who I am, then it allows for this flow of energy between, but this is where I am in the moment in this human incarnation, but I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do the whole gay, Cherokee, codependent, past CPA. That mix was very fascinating. I'm sure I had a purpose for it, but I'll skip it next life. I don't want to do it again.
And that is fair.
The
You
gay
know,
part I would do again every day, but the rest of it, I don't know.
no, thank God, it's so much more fun this way.
I
Um,
100%, 180%, one totally, yeah.
you know, looking back, a lot of there have been angels who have registered as people.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think anyone can relate to that. You know, I I think we have all had those moments where a person has intervened in a way that what would have been otherwise. And to me, that I know is okay, that was an angel. And that can be someone you know very well. That is often a stranger. And I wanted to, I was wondering if you could speak on that.
I think that's true. An angel can be a situation.
Mm,
It's like I live in Denver, Colorado. I adore it here. And but it's like we're having weird weather. It is way too warm. It is not right. And so we had snow really late in the season. We had snow, our first one really late, a week and a half ago. And so the snow hit, the ground was warm, it melted, but it was a lot of it. So it turned my back driveway was a hockey rink. And I had a snow shovel in my hand and blade up, was got it out of the garage, walked out, hit the ice. The shovel hit the side of my face, and down I went to the ground. And I had a big bump on the side of my head and a big bruise and stuff. And did it hurt? Yes. But it also kind of didn't. It's like that lump went down within 4 hours. It never turned into a full-blown bruise. I wasn't really harmed.
Mm.
And to me, that felt, I sincerely think the angels were like, well, he's going to slip and fall, but we're going to catch him. And I just, I went down hard, and yet it didn't feel hard. It just felt like something grabbed me, buffeted my drop. And so when human beings, when we experience human beings in that same way, then I think that's angels. I think that's more likely to happen in the form of a stranger.
Mm,
Um, I think that if it's someone we know or love, there are people in my life that I think are amazing and the most important people in my entire life. But I don't think they're angels. They may be
mm,
acting on the energy of the angelic nature of themselves, but I don't think of angels among us as
mm.
being the incarnated people that are experiencing this crazy video game.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that really provides good context because a lot of the close people in my life, there have been moments where they have stepped in at the exact right time. And I
Yeah.
think there's a way, the way I would think of that is like, I know the angels sent them. There's just, that could have been a missed opportunity that led to despair, catastrophe. And I know there were presences who aligned things in the right way. And I think that's like such a gift to pay attention to.
But also, David, you do that. I mean, it's like you act as an angel sometimes. It's like yesterday, this person I haven't seen in 22 years, that was a good friend at the time, just popped up into my awareness. I was like, oh, how, oh my God. And we had lunch yesterday. He needed to hear what I was saying because he and I were going through a similar thing. And so to me, it was like we were both acting in our nature of angels for one another. Will I see him again? Probably. Tomorrow? No. But we showed up for each other in a moment where we were both experiencing the same thing and we could validate each other.
I could say the same thing about my podcast producer, who popped into my head. I hadn't seen him in person in 7 years, and he popped into my head, and I emailed him, and then here we are. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's an amazing insight to have and to be able to clock it, because I think I miss it most of the time. But let's say I'm clocking it 1% of the time. That is a world of miracles if I can clock it 1% of the time.
It is. And being awake to the opportunity, or the being awake to the possibility of miracles, is where we realize how many miracles there are in our life every day. Because otherwise, again, we're just asleep. We're asleep at the wheel. And I think I do it too much. I think I'm like, why did that happen? What does that mean? What is this? That's the scientist part of me. That's the CPA part of me. That's the part that's going, what the heck what does that mean? And it's like my personal therapist is like, maybe it means nothing, Radleigh. But I'm like, no, everything means something.
As they
And
say in 12 step, more will be revealed.
more will be revealed.
And
Right.
sometimes that's it, right?
Right.
Sometimes there
Yeah.
is no, okay, we don't know yet, but
Yeah.
big picture, yes, it is
Right.
connected.
It is connected.
Radleigh, I really, I could go for hours. I want to say thank you so much for being here. I would recommend that everyone who's listening go to radleighvalentine.com, where they can sign up for classes, mastermind course, purchase your litany of literature and decks, and kind of plug into the world. Is there anything else you would like to add or include, or further directions for our listeners?
No, you're delightful. And Josh told me you were adorable and that I would love you, and he was right. So I'm so glad I was here today. It was great.
And may I just say, the feeling is mutual. So
Thanks.
thank you so much for being here. And to our listeners, may I just say, we will be back next week. We are here every Wednesday here at Heavenly Bodies headquarters. Please, if you were inspired by Radleigh's voice and vision, please send this to beautiful, chic, angelic people in your life and tell them to like, share, rate, review, and subscribe. You can reach out to us at ask@heavenlybodiespodcast.com. I'm at davidodyssey.com, and we will see you very soon. Mwah. Thank you for listening. This podcast is part of Pride House Media, hosted by David Odyssey, and produced by Matthew Breen and Josh Rosenzweig, with original music composed by Nell Balaban. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, leave us a rating and review. It really helps others discover the show. I'd love to get to know you, so email questions and visions to ask@heavenlybodiespodcast.com and book a reading with me at davidodyssey.com. Until our next trip, keep looking up.